Throughout the entire history of art, only one painter managed to depict the Minotaur truthfully. And the painting is in front of you. It's a strange claim, isn't it? The myth of the Minotaur is famous. Painters would often choose it as a subject. Here is the Minotaur on a Roman fresco, or rather, by this point he is already dead. Theseus steps out of the labyrinth, everyone rejoices. Here is the Minotaur on an 18th century French canvas. Theseus is still far away and the merciless beast attacks Greek girls, about to tear them apart. And here is a marble Minotaur defeated by Theseus in Paris. Here is a bronze one also defeated, this time in Australia. All of these works, paintings and sculptures, are of course made with skill, and yet something tells me that looking at them you feel very little. You can admire the anatomy, the tension of muscles, the choreography of movement, but they rarely produce a genuine emotional response. Watts is different. I mean the English painter George Frederick Watts and his Minotaur, painted in 1885. The very fact that there might be only one painting of the Minotaur that evokes sympathy already makes this work unusual, but there is something even stranger about it. The effect it has on us is accidental. Watts wanted something else. He expected a different reaction. That sounds like a paradox. Good, let's untangle it together. By the way, my name is Alexey Pashkov. I'm an art historian. I try to talk about art in a way that makes its hidden language audible, so that its non-obvious meanings come through. Today, painting is just the case. First, let's jot your memory of the story. Minos, king of Crete, had a wife, Pasiphae. In one version of the myth, she offended Aphrodite. In the second version, Minos promised Poseidon a magnificent bull as a sacrifice. Poseidon sent it from the sea, a perfect animal. Convenient, really. Sacrificing a bull a god provides costs you nothing. But Minos grew greedy. He offered a lesser bull instead and kept the divine one for his own herd. Poseidon retaliated by driving Pasiphae mad. So she develops an unnatural desire for the bull. The bull ignores her. So she turns to Daedalus, the legendary engineer, who at that time lives on Crete. Daedalus builds a hollow wooden cow with a door in its side. Pasiphae climbs inside. The device is mechanically convincing. Let's go with that. The bull is fooled into mating with it. After a while, a child is born, human and animal at once. There is an ancient image of this birth on a Greek vase. It is a utilitarian object, almost mass-produced, and yet the painter bothers to convey the mother's expression with precision, not just surprise, but something stronger, revulsion. By Minos' order, Daedalus then builds the labyrinth, an immense structure of rooms and corridors. The Minotaur is condemned to live there. And in the labyrinth, the creature must eat. What does a monster eat if not human flesh? The flesh is supplied from Athens. According to ancient writers, Athens falls under Cretan power, and the terms of peace require a tribute every 10 years. 7 youths and 7 maidens sent to Crete, driven into the labyrinth and torn apart. By the way, I also require a tribute from you, but nothing of that cruel ancient sort. All I want is for you to subscribe to the channel, if you like the content so far, of course. Seriously, for you it's just one click, but for me it's an immense help and encouragement. Thank you in advance. When the time comes again, Theseus, the son of the Athenian king, volunteers to go. He promises his father, if he returns alive, the ship will bear white sails, if he dies, black. In Crete, Ariadne, Minos' daughter, falls in love with him. She betrays her family, gives Theseus weapons and, crucially, a ball of thread, the means of escape. Theseus goes down into the labyrinth with the other youths and maidens, finds the Minotaur, kills him, and follows Ariadne's thread back out. He sails away with Ariadne and then abandons her on island Naxos. Myths disagree on what happens next. One version gives her a kind of compensation. Dionysus finds her and makes her his wife. And there's one more detail. According to one version of the myth, Ariadne does get her revenge. As punishment for Theseus' betrayal, the gods strike him with forgetfulness, and he forgets to raise the white sail. He returns under a black one instead. Seeing the sail as a sign that his son has died, his father throws himself from a cliff into the sea. And that sea is known to us as the Aegean Sea, named after Aegeus. We all learned this story in childhood. We treat it as a fairy tale. So did many educated Greeks, rather early in fact. The Greeks could be poetic, but they were also rational. In the classical period, authors begin to explain myths away. Centaurs? Not half men, half horses, just terrifying horsemen, so skilled they seemed fused to their mounts. The Minotaur receives the same treatment. Plutarch, our major source for the life of Theseus, offers a rationalizing version. There was no bull man, there was Minos, and there was a commander named Tower, Bull. Crete did dominate Athens. Athens did send a tribute of young people, but they were not fed to a monster. They were slaves, used as prizes in athletic contests. Tower, the strongest man on Crete, always won. The captives always went to him. He was harsh. From that brutality, the image of a beast is born. Theseus, in this reading, defeats Tower in competition and ends the tribute. For a long time, modern people also treated the Minotaur as pure fiction, until the end of the 19th century. The late 19th and early 20th centuries are the age of spectacular excavations. Schliemann digs at Troy, then Mycenae. In 1900, Sir Arthur Evans begins excavating on Crete and uncovers the palace at Knossos. Suddenly, a civilization comes into view, what we call the Minoan and Mycenaean world, flourishing in the 2nd millennium BCE. Its art is distinctive. Think of the octopus vases, how confidently the painted tentacles wrap around a curved surface, turning the vessel itself into part of the composition. But excavations show something else as well. A cult of the bull. In the ancient imagination, the bull represents power, fertility, generative force. On Crete, that fascination takes a particular form. There is the famous image of bull leaping, an acrobat performing a dangerous somersault over a charging animal. There are figurines, there are repeated horn motifs. Stone and clay horns are found at Knossos. It is tempting to assume these were literally games with death. One wrong move and the bull kills you. But we do not actually see images of an acrobat being gored. The evidence remains ambiguous. The cult is mysterious to us, and it was mysterious to later Greeks as well, because the world that produced it collapsed long before the classical period. The Bronze Age ends in catastrophe, invasions, upheavals, migrations, cities destroyed, systems overturned. Memory survives in a form of myth. And if later Greeks stood among the ruins of Knossos, vast, complex, full of corridors and chambers, calling it a labyrinth would have felt almost unavoidable. So no, the Minotaur myth is not born from nothing. But none of this is what Watts knew. Watts, like earlier artists, painted the Minotaur as myth describes him, a monster without pity or compassion. After all, that is how he is usually pictured. A Roman mosaic might show a labyrinth and, at its center, a bull's head, a neat symbol. More elaborate scenes show Theseus emerging, the Minotaur dead, the rescued crowd clinging to the hero. If you jump forward 16 centuries and look at an 18th century French painting, the logic barely changes. The hero is elegant and confident. The monster is simply a monster. And then Watts arrives and changes the story. At first glance, Watts' idea looks obvious. For the first time, the Minotaur appears not only as a beast, but as an object of pity. Yes, he is monstrous, repulsive and deformed. The bull's head is too large for the human body beneath it. It hangs over him like a burden. The folds of skin on the heavy neck feel less like strength than like illness. He stands on a cliff, gazing out. We barely see his face, only the edge of an eye, but the gaze looks damp, as if blurred by tears. What is he thinking? perhaps of the sheep that will one day arrive, carrying the man who will kill him and therefore release him, not only from the labyrinth, but from the grotesque body he never chose. And yet there is a reminder of cruelty. In his feast he crushes a small bird. It takes him one movement to end a life. The bird, so often a symbol of freedom, becomes here a symbol of helpless innocence destroyed. And the logic seems to turn back on him. He is cruel to the bird, but the world is cruel to him. He is a captor and a captive. This reading is so persuasive that it even spills into literature. In 1947, Jorge Luis Borges writes The House of Asterion, a story told in the Minotaur's voice, Asterion being one of his names. Borges's Minotaur is intelligent, solitary, almost philosophical. He waits for the deliverer, and in the final lines, after killing the monster, Theseus says, "It's strange, he barely resisted." And of course, we are again tempted to view the painting in the same light. Minotaur is a victim. But this is exactly where the twist begins. Our sympathetic reading of the painting is actually wrong. And this is one of those rare cases where we know exactly what the artist meant, because he explained it himself. In 1885, the British press published a notorious investigation titled The Maiden Tribute of Modern Babylon, a text describing the exploitation of underage girls in London. It caused a scandal. It helped spur legal reforms. Watts read it and painted his Minotaur almost immediately, inspired by the article. It offered two comparisons: London as modern Babylon, a city of vice, and the machinery of exploitation as a Minotaur, a monster whose appetite is fed by human offerings. Watts took that image and gave it a visual form. For him, the painting was denunciation. The heavy bull neck, the sagging folds of flesh, the sheer mass of the creature, none of it is meant to invite pity. It is meant to show animal force and lust, a desire that wants to take, possess, and use another body, a desire unconstrained by moral law. The Minotaur's gaze, Watts insisted, is not sad or dreamy. It is lustful. It stares toward the horizon in anticipation, waiting for the next ship. The mouth is slightly open, the lips look thick, sensual, like those of an aging libertine tasting the thought of what is coming. And the bird is not a decorative detail, it is a symbol, a young life that can be purchased and destroyed. Once you know this, it becomes hard to return to the initial compassionate response, which proves a simple point: you cannot separate what you feel in front of art from what you know. Our knowledge guides our emotions. And then the truly curious thing. Contemporary critics in the late 19th century seem to have read the painting as Watts intended. For them, the Minotaur was greedy, brutal, predatory. Today, many viewers see something else. They see a victim. Somewhere over the past century, our cultural optics have shifted so much that the painting's meaning appears to flip. Why? Why did a figure once read as a monster increasingly register as a creature to be pitied? I would love to read your explanations in the comments. Actually, I have my own theory as well, but I don't want to drag this video out too much, so I'll probably lay it out in an article instead. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, I have a Patreon where I publish longer, more in-depth material about art. A lot of people say that reading me is even more interesting than listening to me. You can judge for yourself. The link to Patreon is in the description.